Open your book to page 332. Today's lesson is to factor trinomials. But before we do the factoring, let's go and review a little bit about multiplication, so that way you can see where the polynomial came from, and so that you will know how to go backward. So if you notice, there are four possible multiplication. You got x plus 2, x plus 5, and then you have the x minus 2, x minus 5, then you have the x plus 2, x minus 5, and then you have the x minus 2 and x plus 5. So when you're doing the FOIL method, okay, you multiply, right? So you multiply, you get x squared, you get plus 5x, multiply, you get plus 2x, multiply, you get plus 10. And when you combine the like terms, this over here, you get x squared plus 7x plus 10. And if you notice that this came from adding, so instead of doing the long way, notice you can do the shortcut by just adding the 2. Right? 2 plus 5 give you 7, 2 times 5 give you 10. So if you notice that this came from adding, and this came from multiplying. Okay? And again, keep close eyes on the pattern. So when you multiply, again, if you notice, you get x squared. When you multiply, you get minus 5x. When you multiply, you get plus 2x. When you multiply, you get minus 10. And when you combine the like terms over here, you get x squared minus 3x minus 10. And again, notice that this came from adding, right? 2 plus negative 5. So this came from addition. And when you multiply 2 times negative 5, give you negative 10. Okay, so again, notice the middle term came from adding, the last term came from multiplication. Okay, notice the pattern. So again, when you multiply, again, if you now if you know the pattern without doing all the things, right, you should know that the answer would be x squared minus 7x plus 10, right? But if you don't get it, again, you can try this again. So x squared, multiply, you get minus 5x, multiply, you get minus 2x, multiply, you get plus 10. So you're going to get x squared minus 7x plus 10. Again, if you notice, this came from adding, right? So negative 2 plus negative 5 get negative 7. So this came from adding the two numbers. This came from multiplying the two numbers, negative 2 times negative 5. So this came from multiplying, right? So again, over here, without even have to do all the steps, you can see that this is going to be x squared, right? If you add this, you get plus 3x. When you multiply, you get minus 10, right? Again, this came from adding. This came from multiplying. Okay? Again, if you don't believe that, you can try to multiply out. Right? Multiply. Right? Again, this to give you that. Okay? So this is how you multiply. So now when you're doing the factoring, you're going backward. So you know, if you know where this came from, you can go backward and figure it out. Okay? So if we go to the example 2, so go to page 335, example 2. Okay, you're factoring x squared plus 5x plus 6. So what you want to do is you want to draw a cross and put a 5 over here and put a 6 over here. And again, remember, this came from adding, this came from multiplying. So what you want to do, you want to find a combination of two numbers that when you multiply, we get 6, and when you add, we get 5. Okay? Now, if you start with the addition, there are infinite number of possibilities, so it's difficult. So let's go and start with the multiplication. So you got 1 times 6, right? 1 times 6 gives you 6. But 1 times 6, well, 1 plus 6 does not give you 5. So you go to the next one. So it's easier and quicker if you just start with 1, 2, 3 steps going down. Okay? So 2, 3, and that's it, right? 2 times 3 give you 6, 2 plus 3 give you 5. So this is the correct combination. So when you break it down, okay, this is the F, right? Remember, this is a FOIL method, right? This is the F-O-I-L, right? So first you have to undo the F, right? Undo the first term. So x times x give you x squared. And after that, the O and the I, this is your O and the I, okay? So it would be plus 2 plus 3, right? Again, plus 2 plus 3. And you can check, right? 2 times 3 give you 6, right? 2 plus 3 give you 5, and that's it. So that's how you do the factoring. By knowing where this came from, and you just go backward. Okay, let's go to example 3. So page 336, example 3. You got m squared minus 9m plus 8, right? So you can get your these are your master product numbers. So this is your sum and this is your product. Okay. So again, this came from adding, this came from multiplying, right? So again, you start with 1 comma 8. But when you add two positive numbers, you're not going to get the negative. So in this case, you have to use a negative number. Okay. So negative 1 times negative 8. So when it's positive number, there are two options. It can both positive or both negative. And so you have to look it over here to see if you have to use both positives or both negatives. So like this one over here, this is positive, so we use both positives. Over here, this is negative, so we use both negatives. And that's it, right? Negative 1 times negative 8 give you positive 8. Negative 1 plus negative 8 give you negative 9. And so that's it. Can you break it down? So first you undo the first term, so f, right? So m times m give you m squared. And after that you get minus 1 minus 8, right? So negative 1 plus negative 8 give you negative 9. Negative 1 times negative 8 give you positive 8. And that's it. Okay, again, it's very simple. Okay, okay, let's go to example 4. Example 4, you got 4a minus 12 plus a squared. Now this is in the wrong order, so don't do factoring yet. You got to arrange this in correct order first. So make it a squared plus 4a minus 12. So now you can go and do the cross. So this is 4, negative 12, right? And so again, start with 1 comma, negative 12, 2 comma, negative 6. So when you get over here, you can see that the number is correct, but the sign is wrong. 2 plus negative 6 will give you negative 4. So it means you need to switch the sign. So use 6, negative 2. Right? 6 times negative 2 give you negative 12. Again, this came from adding. This came from multiplying. Okay. So 6 times negative 2 give you negative 12. 6 plus negative 2 give you 4. Right? So again, first you do the for your method, the f, right? Then you do the o and the I. This is your o and the I. So plus 6 minus 2. And you can check, right? 6 times negative 2 give you negative 12. And again, that's it. Okay. Okay, let's go to example 5. So page 337. Example 5. You got a squared minus 4a minus 12. Okay, so the first check, make sure it's correct order, right? And then after that, you get the negative 4, negative 12. You can start with 1 comma, negative 12, 2 comma, negative 6, and that's it. So again, it's fast if you just go down in order, 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so in this case, you're going to get a and an a, right? So this came from the for your method, right? To get the f, right? The first term. Now over here, you got positive 2, negative 6, right? So it would be plus 2 minus 6. And that's it. Okay, let's go to example 6. You have 3x squared minus 24x minus 60. Okay. Now when you're doing the factoring, make sure you always do your step 1 first. So step 1, common factor. Okay, again, if you don't remember, okay, remember step 1 is common factor, so do the step 1. So factor out of 3. So this is the step 1. Then you go to step 2. Okay, step 2, 3 times you check for perfect square. This is not a perfect square, so this is not it. So you go to step 3 for the cube. This is not a cube, so you go to step 4, master product. Okay, so this is the step 4. So negative a, negative 20. So you can start with 1 comma, negative 20, 2 comma, negative 10, and that's it. Okay. So make sure you follow through, none of everything, so to avoid mistakes. And so you got positive 2, you got minus 10, okay, and that's it. So make sure you go through the steps on the checklist. Okay, let's go to example 3. Example 7. Go to example 7. You got x to the 4 plus 9x3 plus 20x squared. Again, you got to do step 1. Step 1, common factor. You can factor out the x squared. So you got x squared plus 9x plus 20. So make sure you do step 1. Then after that, you go to step 2, perfect square. This is not a perfect square. So you go to step 3, cube. This is not a cube. So you go to step 4, master product. So again, you start with 1, 20, 2, 10. 3 cannot, so 4, 5, and that's it, right? So you got positive 4, positive 5, and that's it. So again, factoring, once you master it, it's fairly simple. Okay, let's go to example 8. So page 338. Example 8. You have x squared minus 11xy plus 24y squared. Now notice right now they are variable in the end, right? But don't freak out, just follow through the process. Okay? So step 1, common factor cannot. Step 2, perfect square. This is not a perfect square. Step 3, cube. This is not a cube. So step 4, master product. Again, don't worry about the variable yet. Just focus on the number. So this is positive. So you got options. You can use both positive or both negative. Because this is a negative, so you have to use both negative. So negative 1, comma, negative 24, negative 2, comma, negative 12, negative 3, comma, negative 8, and that's it. Okay, negative 3, negative 8. Right? So now when you break into the variable, so in the beginning to get x squared, you need to get x. Again, if you have the variable in the front, you need to get variable in the front. When you have variable in the end, you need to have variable in the end. So you're going to get minus 3y. Okay, see the difference between that? Okay, because this one don't have variable in the back, so that's why there's no variable in the back. But over here, there's a variable in the back. So to get a y squared, you need to get y here, and you need to get y over here. Right? Y times y will give you y squared. Okay, so again, it's very simple. If you have variable in the beginning, you need to have variable in the beginning. If you have variable on the end, you need to have variable on the end. And that's all you have to do. But other than that, you just focus on the number. Okay, let's go to example 9. Example 9, you have x squared minus 5x plus 3. So step 1, common factor cannot. Step 2, perfect square. This is not a perfect square. So step 3, cube. This is not a cube. So step 4, master product. So you start with negative 1, negative 3, and you got negative 3, negative 1. And that's it. That's all you can do. But notice none of this match. Okay? Again, if none of them is going to work, if you go through the entire list, and if none of them work, that means this is not factorable. Okay? So this is not factorable, and that's it. And that's another reason you want to just go through the list. Just start with the number 1, 2, 3, keep going. That way, when you're done, you know that it's not factorable. Because if you skip the number all over the place, you're not going to be able to know if you miss a number or it's not factorable. You're not going to be able to tell. Okay? But by going through the list, going through the number 1, 2, 3 in order, that way you know you didn't miss any number and none of them works. That's how you know it's not factorable. Okay? And again, reminder, this number came from adding. This one came from multiplying. Okay? So again, this came from adding. You have to add to match that. You have to multiply to match that. And so that is how you do the factoring of the trinomial.